They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that college promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
So we, eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful friends. This is your special edition of Rogue Ways on a Wednesday, January 6th, which is a big day, apparently. So we're here to break it all down and talk about all of the various things that that I've seen today and that maybe you have seen today, and maybe we can bring it all together and, you know, make some sense and put it in a rational little pile of crap, because that's what it is. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to do a show tomorrow night as far as I know, and that's my normal night. So I figured tonight, why not jump in and weigh in on all this stuff. So I am glad that I can be here. I know that it's not going to be, you know, people are going to be surprised because it's not my normal day, but whatever. It's all good, right? What is up in the chat to Lloyd, Tucker Carlson, and D-Live? What's up? I'm going to break it down. We got Israel Adams in the house. We've got Jay Marley. Perfect timing, Soul Sister. Oh, thank you. Good. So my chicken has like some black stuff on his doodle, her doodle, which I call a doodle, but is actually called a comb, this part. And it's like little black dots. And I got so nervous today because I love them way too much. And I looked it up, and I hope it's not frostbite. I hope that it's actually like an abrasion that is scabbing over. But it was actually kind of cute because ever since they became like teenager chickens, they're like way too cool for their mom, and they didn't want me to like hold them or cuddle them anymore. It was like a really sad day for me. Maybe you remember. And so I haven't held her or touched her since then. That was months ago. And today I was like, I have to grab you and I have to put this on your comb. You're going to deal with it, buddy. And so I like grabbed it, and she just like snuggled up and let me like put like this little salve that my friend Harmony of Wildcraft Wellness makes. It's all perfectly, you know, organic, and all, you could eat it if you wanted to. It wouldn't taste good, but it's like edible and wouldn't hurt you. So it's like that kind of goodness. Wildcraft Wellness, she makes it. I think she sells it on Etsy and her page, which is wildcraftwellness.net. Anyway, I put it on there. You could tell that she like liked it. It like felt good to her. And I think her comb is going to be okay. So that's the chicken update for you on the front here. I like to tell you guys about my chickens because I'm a chicken nut now. I love them so much. We like literally, if I was rich, I would build like a whole like hut that they could be in that was like plexiglass on one side, and that would also be one side of one of my rooms, so I could look in at them all the time. Like, that's how crazy I am. I love them so much. So I think she's gonna be okay. What's up, Mahadharma? Paula's in the house. Nice to see you. Inferno 6 is here, saying good morning. You must be on the other half of the world. Bonnie is here. What's up, Bonnie? We got Regan. Hi, Regan. Nice to see you. Love in the Midst is here. Nice to see you too. But yes, yeah, that's the stuff that actually does matter. And what's really cool, this is so random and then we'll get into it, but our chickens are supposed to produce like one egg every other day. One of them's like could produce one a day, but like doesn't have to. And the other one's like every other day probably. We get 2 eggs every single day. Our chickens love us so much. So we got good eggs. We even were able to share some with our neighbors recently, which is nice because they help us out when we go out of town. But yeah, Mateo is here as well. The stage, yeah, we're gonna look at the stage. Good way to describe it, because that's all it is, right? We have to remember that. It's telling me that 0 people are watching this, and so just know that I once again have no idea what's going on, but I can see your comments, so that's good. And I'm at least getting them from DLive and YouTube. Maybe not Faceback, who knows? Faceback? You know what I'm talking about. So let's start. And just before we start, I always like to remind everyone that I do have a site. It is a beautiful thing. There's all kinds of writings and articles, poetry, prose, all kinds of things that you can check out on this page. It is very visually pleasing as well. If there's a photograph and not like an artistic piece, I took the photograph. So all the photography is mine as well. And you can go over to the shop and you can grab all kinds of good things. I still have a couple copies left under the art and writing section of my novels, Sine Curve of Ants and Earth, A Trough in Time. It's sequel. Those come to you signed if you buy them here, and they're still cheaper than Amazon. It's a pretty good deal. I teach all kinds of classes if you're interested in learning, especially about tarot or spiritual principles, spiritual protection, or communicating with your spiritual allies. And those are all in the classes and tarot section. You can get a tarot reading from me. I also do guidance sessions, which we can use some tarot, or we can just, do one-on-one and kind of break down all of the things in life that are important and make plans and whatnot. I also make and sell orgone or orgonite pendants, earrings, and plaques, and you can find those here. And you can grab some Rogue Ways gear while you're at it. We have irreverent merch and Rogue Ways gear. And I would love it, of course, in addition to all of those things. Oh, sorry, my picture is really big. If you would go join rogue.locals.com, it is free to join. If you want to become a supporter, that's even better. That supports me, Rogue Ways, the show, and you get all the content that is only in rogue.locals.com and nowhere else. And sometimes that includes the second half of interviews, and sometimes that is just random content that I create that I don't post anywhere else. So, and all sorts of people post here as well, all the people in our community. So it's a vibrant, loving, awesome community, and I hope to see you there. Go check it out. And finally, we'll get into it. So first of all, end times headlines. So, whatever, take it however you want, but they're talking about, and everyone is, I could have gotten this from many sites, but this is the one that a friend of the show sent me. And it's true that a breach of air traffic control sent chilling threats against the U.S. Capitol. This was yesterday. As the gathering in Washington, D.C. was starting. And so, was it meant to kind of deter people and send them away? Probably not, because it's a little bit too late if it was for that. People were already there. My friends who were going got there either on the 4th or the 5th, and, as well as a million other people. They're saying 100,000 at least, maybe 250,000, but at the very least, supposedly in response to the death of Soleimani being avenged, they're going to fly a plane into the Capitol. You would think if that happened, it'd be like a sure sign that it's just full of shit, because it's been 20 years. It's been 20 years since 9/11, and even then it was incredible. And by incredible, I mean not credible. There was no credibility to the story. We all understand that at this point, I think. So to happen 20 years later would be like quite a stretch. So it was just a threat. I don't know. They said they didn't really believe it that much. There wasn't that much credence given to it. They didn't really, they got ready for it, but it was just a digitized voice recording. It wasn't like a person called. It wasn't like they had a lot to go off of. It was just this audio that was called in. So multiple air traffic controllers in New York received the terror message. The thing that concerned them more is that it was on restricted channels that they got the message. So it would have been harder to get the message to those channels. Like you and I couldn't just like call up and do it. It was like probably had some level of technical prowess in order to do that. So that was more surprising to them, I guess, than anything else. Like I said, they didn't really give it a lot of credit. But they did obviously send the FBI after it and try to figure out what's going on. I don't know. Again, I feel like it actually was probably just hackers, that were like trying to make things even more fucked up. I don't know, like I said, because it didn't accomplish anything. So if it were going to be used, if they were going to actually like fly something into the Capitol, or if they were going to actually use it to try and tell people they couldn't gather, then I would say like, okay, yeah, it's like a false flag or whatever, but nothing really happened. So it's just a random blip to add to the chaos of the last 24 hours or so. So that's happening. I don't know. I don't think anything really happened. Like this person points out, the Iranian regime and its proxies would not telegraph plans and intentions. If they were going to attack, they would just do it. That seems pretty obvious too. All right, so that happened too. All right, and then Also in the Middle East news, I mean, I'm saying Middle East because supposedly it's Iran and Soleimani and revenge and all of that for the terror attack threat. But they also have this just random thing sent also by a friend of the show, Brian. Thanks, Brian. And Brian sent this mysterious energy source melting Tel Aviv sidewalks, prompting evacuations of buildings in Israel. So in Israel, the road, the ground, is like melting. So of course, you know, I start thinking like directed energy weapons. I don't know. Pretty weird. Like, is someone attacking Israel? So my main question was, is someone attacking Israel, or is Israel attacking itself to test something out before they go sending it against somewhere else? Like that, the both of those things could happen. The concrete surface outside buildings was heating up and steam was coming out of the ground, prompting evacuations. Which is weird too. Like, I don't know if I've ever looked out and saw the ground steaming. I'm just like, oh, that's very normal in the Pacific Northwest. There's a lot of moisture, and if it gets warm at all, it like steams, you know. But I guess in Israel, it's very strange enough that they're evacuating people. So they did go find out it was 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That is really fucking hot to be coming out of the ground. That is not what it would be in Washington if it were steam. It would just be mist. But this is like boiling water, practically. Experts were called to the scene and didn't detect any dangerous substances at the site. And they ruled the source of heat to be trapped energy from an unknown source. And that's the point where I was like, okay, so directed energy weapons, right? Trapped energy. Trapped energy. Like, what would that even mean except lasers? Laser beams, directed energy. And so... I don't know, again, who did it come from? Someone else pointed out, Claude, in a chat I was having with him earlier, said, I wonder if it was coming from underground. Like, I mean, and then you could think, like, is it geothermal, or is it, you know, like lava, or like a deep underground military base? I don't know. Both of those things could be true, right? It's just interesting this is all happening at once. And I always like to look at the other things happening on the periphery because I'm like, well, as usual, is there something they're trying to distract us from by allowing all of this to happen and making it so dramatic, you know? So this is just a thing to keep on your radar happening over in Israel. The streets are melting from trapped energy. We've got this video pointing out that, I mean, first of all, you're looking at those fences. This is back at the Capitol now. We have these masses of people. We have like a handful of not very well equipped cops standing there ineffectually kind of holding this really poorly constructed fencing. And then they just get out of the way when people come through it. So people pointed out like, well, obviously they didn't want to keep them out then, right? I mean, you have to know they could do better than that. And they chose not to. So take whatever you want from that. Clearly, they weren't trying to stop these people from coming in. So was it planned? Well, yeah. All evidence points to yes, there is a plan to allow people at the very least to come in to this otherwise secured area. As far as I know, I'm not there. I don't even know what this video could be from fucking a completely different state for all I know. Like, you know, there's not a lot of identifying markers, but allegedly this video is showing people storming the Capitol, and everyone seems to agree on that. I don't know why those other people were already behind this fence. Like I said, there's nothing about this really makes sense. But apparently, again, they weren't trying that hard. We've seen much better fences, even at like concerts, you know, that you couldn't get through. So I don't know why the capital of the free world allegedly couldn't have better fences than that. It's pretty questionable to say the least. So that's interesting. I'm going to check in with the chat. You guys always have great ideas. We got love in the midst in the house. I don't know if I said hi to you yet or not, but hello. Hegelian dialectic is right. Problem, reaction, solution. We're always looking for what is their final goal going to be. And we said a long time ago, most people in this community, I would say, said probably to bring in international help if things got really like Civil War-y and lots of violence broke out and shit was really going down. Then the international community would have to be called on in order to quell the terror and the danger that the poor United States can't handle on its own, even though we have the most advanced surveillance, the most advanced military, and the most advanced ability to control crowds in a fucking snap of. There is no reason they couldn't have stopped all of these people from doing anything they wanted. We know that. They have all kinds of active denial systems, like all kinds of weaponry that they could pull out, and they didn't pull any of it out. They didn't even pull out good fences. So absolutely, Hegelian dialectic is the place we want our minds to be right now. Why are they allowing this to happen? What are they hoping to be able to do in response to the reaction? We have R.L. Gill in the house. Jenny B is here. What's up? Jenny B. Logan Yates is here as well. Why is the video constantly shutting off? I don't know. I was guessing before I went live that they were going to be fucking with a lot of people's live streams, hoping to, if at the very least make us feel like they want to stop us from talking about it. If not actually stop us. What's up, Lala Wawa is in the house. Nice to see you here. Love in the Midst says, I think they target individual devices. Sometimes things buffer like crazy and sometimes not for others and vice versa. And it's absolutely true. I have proven it to myself over and over again that they can target specific devices and specific people with all kinds of buggy bullshit. So I'm sorry if they're doing that to anyone right now. Oh, I'm sorry, Logan. Oh, someone's saying maybe ad block. Do ad block and that might help. Inferno says. Matt Feinberg is here. What's up, Matt? And that's exactly right. Shit is getting more wild, Matt says, and he says, I find it funny and sad. And I am exactly with you. I laugh and then I get really sad. Chad Clemens is in the house too. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Mateo. He said probably done by Israel and blaming Iran. And that makes more sense to me too than that somebody would somehow be able to target Israel with exotic weaponry. Nazis are hotboxing in the sewers. Good one. Bonnie points out it was she worked at the Capitol. The buildings were easy to get into, entrances at every corner inside. It's a good point. You can't, once you get people close to them, there's no way you're going to keep them out of the actual building. I mean, there is a way, but it would take a lot more effort at that point. I love all the love in the chat. You guys are great. All right, so moving on, as Glenn Greenwald, who I really like, a lot of people want to say he's CI or whatever. Maybe he is. I don't know. But he started a pretty good reg for a pretty good reason. And he just got kicked off of that, which is ever more indication that perhaps he actually is one of the good guys. And Glenn says, how have hundreds of billions upon hundreds of billions of dollars been spent in the name of security since 9/11, along with the development of drones and surveillance tech, yet a few hundred protesters can so easily breach the Capitol, just waltzing in and taking it over? And we did see that. We did, like we just saw, they just so easily went past these fences that were barely even erected. They have like 5 cops there and they just waltzed right past them. You know, they had a lot of time to prepare for this. And people were like, oh, they're calling in the National Guard. And like, if they did, they didn't seem to call in a lot of them. Although it seems like now that it's dark out that maybe things have gotten a bit chaotic. And maybe more police and National Guard have come out of the woodwork. I don't know, but it's a really good question at the very least, and it probably points to the same conclusion that a lot of us are coming to, which is that this is intentionally allowed, if not promoted, and is being used. Some people are saying, you know, this isn't the Trumpers, this isn't what the Trump people wanted, the people who are being violent are probably Antifa, and here's a picture of a couple kids wearing black, somewhat. You know, this is definitely what people dressed like when I was a communist revolutionary. So I'm not going to lie that outfit looks really familiar in that way and that sort of style that this group seems to have. And same with this individual. Like, it's just, this is a slightly, I don't know if I can't even explain it. There's like a almost, revolutionaries tend to have these baseball hats that are like square-ish. I don't know why. I think it's like a Russian sort of style baseball cap. Forgive me for my ignorance, but it's like very common in that community. And they tend to wear these high collared, long, like felt jackets. I don't know. And this like sort of military looking bag. So none of that means anything. This could just be two random people. I don't know. But some people are saying maybe this is Antifa coming in, sneaking in and trying to pretend like they're Trumpers so that they can fuck shit up and then get it blamed on all these Trump people. It would be a beautifully intelligent tactic if that's what they are doing. Not that I'm supporting it, but I'm saying like, well done. If so, they would have had to communicate about this only on really private sort of servers and communication systems because no one heard about it. And they would have had to have like very specific people going in to pull this off. It would be pretty advanced for them. It would be pretty, well done, well executed. I don't know. I am much more likely to think maybe that's at least some of it. At the very least, it's a good question to ask whether or not the people who are committing violence or causing chaos are agent provocateurs or false flag actors. And this would fall under that, right? Whether it's Antifa or whether it's hired agents of whatever state, then they both would fall under that category. So it's very likely. I've seen it at every major protest I've ever been a part of and helped to organize. And I've seen it at all of the ones that I haven't been a part of and helped organize, but to have just watched from the sidelines. And it's pretty obvious that it happens pretty consistently. So whether or not it was these two guys or some other people or whatever, it's very likely that there are many, many, many agents in the crowd. Whether or not they're starting the violence is its own question to be determined. But we should never, ever forget that that is absolutely always going to be a tactic that is used. So, yeah. Are there Trump people being violent? I don't know. Probably. Like, are there not? Are there way more that are agent provocateurs and or Antifa? Probably. Andy Ngo, I think is how you pronounce his last name. You all know Andy. He covered a lot in Portland. He got hit in the head. He was attacked directly by Antifa. People who were mad at him for publishing things about them. He basically would just walk around at those, protests, gatherings, and riots and take pictures and gather information like a real reporter and journalist would. And that's all he did. And they really targeted him for that. And so he got attacked for it and had some pretty bad head damage. And anyway, he still kept covering them, which is pretty cool. He's pretty brave in my eyes. He seems like just a normal person who kind of got in the limelight because he was targeted by them. But he is now apparently considered the expert on Antifa, which kind of makes sense. He's like the one who's actually gone out and tried to find information and document them more than anyone else we know of. And so he has, in a way, become an expert on them. And he said the people occupying the Capitol building do not look like Antifa people dressed in Trump gear or Trump costumes. He said, I've seen no evidence that they're able to coordinate a mass infiltration on this scale. So I'm really skeptical that they would have been able to do it here without any of that information leaking out, which is absolutely a very intelligent point. It's just also not impossible that they pulled it off, right? Everyone always tends to advance. And so it's possible that they changed and developed new methods that he hasn't seen yet. So I don't know that there was much else in here that, like, there's no substance, basically. It's just his professional opinion is that it wasn't Antifa who was causing the violence. And those are the reasons why. But again, if it wasn't Antifa, and again, I'm not saying that people going there for this Trump rally / stop the steal effort wouldn't commit violence. I think most people going to accomplish something understand that once you cross the boundary to violence, everything gets fucked up and shut down. And that's exactly why agent provocateurs are placed into these crowds in order to do that, because then it's much easier. And this is why I always point out to people who are advocating for violence, like, let's fucking revolution and fight the state. And I'm like, well, I did that for many, many years. And now I've seen that they want you to be violent. They would like for you to come at them with violence because they know exactly how to handle that. They know how to frame it in the media. They know how to grab you and put you in jail and say that you did X, Y, and Z because you did. And then it's very easy. And, they do also tend to ignore the violence from their own side. And we know that, and it's hypocritical, and it makes us angry. And so we think, well, if they can do it, why can't we? And it's because of this. It's because they absolutely know how to respond to violence, and they're hoping that it happens. And that's why they place people in to do exactly that, to foment violence. So again, was it Antifa or was it agent provocateurs? I don't know. It could be either or both. It doesn't matter as long as we know for sure, because it's historically true that this is happening at every single one of these types of rallies and actions, that there are absolutely going to be agent provocateurs, actors, and false flag operators mixed into the crowd. So we always know that. We always expect it, and we see it today. These crowds are massive, though. I mean, like, when have we seen these numbers before? And it's like, I'm proud in a lot of ways, because I'm proud of anyone who's willing to take extra effort and go, you know, to this extent in order to voice their desire and to fight for what they believe is freedom and to fight for what they believe is truth. And it's just really amazing. And this is much more genuine than any movement we've seen this year, I would argue. It was very obvious that a lot of the BLM protests were fueled by the rage created in lockdown and shutting down and restricting life. And also what was very clearly given this like free range and open opportunity to take whatever you wanted from any store you wanted. Like, there's not a lot of very, very poor people who would resist those two, you know, motivating forces and not go join the riots. And so that was all very much constructed, right? And this, while I think it's very likely that they possibly wanted exactly this to happen, I also see that these people, for the vast majority of them, are very genuine and very much believe that this is the time to come together. You know, as Cheney from Idiocalypse said, if we don't secure our freedom now, then we will lose it forever. And I understand that sentiment. And so I'm very proud of people who went and joined in under those sentiments. I think that anytime somebody stands up for what they believe in that way, it's a beautiful thing. And again, I think probably even we could say 98% or higher of these people would never, ever dream of starting violence or joining in on any violent act, because they're there and they know that the reason they're there is not to violently overthrow anything. So I just wanted to say that. But at the same time, this woman was shot today, and she did end up dying, and it is very sad. Again, I don't know her. Part of what makes me think that there could be something off, and I don't want to upset anyone, because it is very sad when anyone is murdered like this. And I don't know. I wouldn't watch the video because I don't want to have nightmares for the next week. But it's pretty hard to argue that it was fake, right? It looks very real. At the same time, the last I heard, maybe it says, I'm just going to say this before I say what I was about to say. I'll say it actually while I'm looking. The last I heard, her name was Roberta Paulson. And I'm like, well, that's a pretty big coincidence, because people were like, say her name. Her name is Roberta Paulson. And I'm like, so we live in Fight Club now? Does anybody remember the movie Fight Club? Robert Paulson was the guy whose name they were like, say his name, Robert Paulson. I'm like, this cannot actually be Roberta Paulson. But I don't see her name. She's just referred to as the woman, which is also interesting because she's not a minor, and so there's no reason not to release her name. So that also makes me question whether or not that aspect was very real or not. But like I said, I understand that the video is probably very convincing. It very well might be real. Even if her name is Roberta Paulson, it still could be very real. That could be why people said say her name, because it was so similar to Robert Paulson. All of that could be true. I'm just pointing out that it is kind of strange and could be something we want to pay attention to. So yeah, it's very sad if she is dead, and it's very sad if she is a very real person and not an actress. So yeah, that's the update on her. And so, well, I also want to go back to whether she is or isn't a very real woman who actually got killed in this way. And then that's her real name. She is nonetheless going to be treated as real for the rest of eternity. J. Marley saying her name actually was Roberta Paulson. It has to be. I know. I feel like it's too much of a coincidence to Biggie Smollett, but it has to be. it doesn't have to be. Weirder shit has happened in my life. So it could very well be that someone heard Roberta Paulson and remembered Robert Paulson and just said, like, say her name, and now that's like a chant that people are doing. It really could be. I don't know. But it is pretty weird, and it definitely in our generation like sticks in our it's like any good trigger. It's like too subtle to be noticed, but it's like effective enough to like draw up a certain like angst in us. If you think about Fight Club, I mean, that's what it was all about. It was like finally breaking under the fucking monotony and the oppression and repression and suppression of everything human about you, and you finally fucking lash out. He destroyed the entire economic world in the end in this like very bloody, very violent way. So it is interesting. It's just interesting. So I just want to bring it up so we at least think about it. And again, I'll say it again. If she's a very real woman who really got shot and really died, it is very sad. Since I don't know, there's a lot of weird things around it. So it's still going. As far as I know, shit's still getting real out there. This was 2 hours ago, I guess. So it was getting dark, and chaos and protests continue outside the U.S. Capitol as the D.C. mayor declares curfew. National Guard fully activated. So I guess they weren't fully activated before. This picture is amazing. Like, it's really incredible. Again, like nothing, no matter how much of today was staged or constructed or intended to be this way, Trump was right when he says, you know, whatever he said that I put as the title of this show, remember this day forever. We won't be able not to. It'll be just like 9/11. It'll be like rammed into our psyches until they're bloody and we just like accept them because we can't do anything else. And this picture is going to be one of those pictures that we see a lot because it looks like the Capitol's burning in rage and pitchforks, even though it's really just a bunch of people sitting with like some smoke and really bright lights. But it's a very emotional setting, right? It's a good stage. What's up, Steve? Nice to see you in the chat today. Yeah, it's funny, actually. Mahadharmapala says, next they'll blame the spread of more COVID on the maskless protesters and say more lockdowns are needed and that they're to blame. And they already are. They already are. In the greatest move of hypocrisy known to man, they already are. They ignored every single, and by they, I mean the people saying this, right? Like the people who are saying that right now these protesters are spreading COVID are the exact same people who said for the past many, many months that none of the BLM protest gatherings or riots had any effect on COVID, whether or not people wear masks. That's literally, like, that's how just deranged and delusional people are. It's really difficult to deal with. It's like, how do you talk to someone who's so lacking in rational thinking, rational thought, and logic? It's really difficult. Trapa Skunk is here. What's up, Trapa Skunk? Yeah, I've purposely not watched the news myself, but every once in a while I've checked in with Twitter and other sort of, you know, online things and just found little bits and pieces. And so that's here. I do kind of want to watch like a CNN or whatever, MSNBC or whatever's out there just to see like what the super left-wing mind is being fed right now, because I'm sure it's wild. I'm sure I'm sure those people who ingest that kind of media have already been held at like gunpoint for the entire year with just the fear gun like to their fucking temples. I'm sure today it's like just off the hook. Like I can't imagine being them, and my genuine like sympathy goes out to them because I can't imagine being on top of all that we've experienced this year, having that far of a left-wing source tell you more about this thing going on right now. It just, you know, the way they're going to frame it is like the whole Western world is on fire and it's in danger by racist Nazi Trump supporters. Oh, God. Like, if you think this is a bunch of racists, like, you're so disconnected from reality. How crazy would that feel to feel like this entire movement is racism? Like, that's insane. And I think there's genuinely people who think that. I know there are. It's crazy. People are crazy right now. And I'm like as far from a Trumper as I think you can get, but I think I have some ability to be objective and rational. And I just don't understand how you can believe that this many people are racist. Anyway, 6 p.m. curfew order. Obviously, people aren't going to go away just because they were told to. So who knows how violent that might get. It sucks because any escalation from either side is going to cause more escalation from the other side. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people who have enough restraint and lack of groupthink to sort of stay out of the fray. But I don't know. I mean, another way to look at it is if there actually are 250,000 people there and there's only a few tiny instances of violence, like that's kind of amazing. Look at this giant flag. Holy shit. So when they breached the Capitol building area, Congress was evacuated and locked down and obviously went into recess. And so they couldn't certify the Electoral College votes, which they were already contesting. Trump and some Republicans were, or Trump wasn't, but some of the Republicans and whoever was contesting the certification of the Electoral College votes or whatever that process is supposed to be like. And that's when this all went down. And so they had to stop. But they are saying they're going to go back tonight. I think right now. I think literally as we've been talking, they've been reassembling. And I'm sure that's been chaotic too. I didn't pull it up here, but I think it was in Georgia yesterday. There was like a showdown on the Senate floor. Georgia, was it Senate floor? They ejected their vice governor, I want to say. I don't know if you guys heard about this. It doesn't really matter, but it's just that maybe it wasn't the Senate. Maybe it was the legislature. Maybe I'm not going to be able to find it. This was just yesterday. Anyway, it was pretty funny. If you watch the video, it's like senators or whoever, legislators, like freaking out. There's one screaming, like in the actual proceedings for whatever the fuck they were doing. It was hilarious. It's like, this is not rad. And I was like, man, are they going to fist fight? And nobody did, but it was pretty rad. So I'm sorry I can't find it. But if anyone else, maybe, oh, it wasn't Georgia, it was Pennsylvania. That's why. Oh, and it's a lieutenant governor, not a vice governor. No wonder I can't find shit. Lieutenant. Here we go. This is just a random aside. I just thought of it, so I just wanted to point out that yesterday, the GOP state senators removed the Democratic lieutenant governor from running session in Pennsylvania. They literally voted to get him out, and so he couldn't run the session anymore because they felt like they were being ignored. So they used the power that they have to be like, okay, well then you have to go now. And he had to leave, and he fucking lost it. Oh yeah, they refused to swear in new senators because they contested the race for the same types of voting irregularities that make people concerned about the presidential race. And so they're like, no, we're not swearing them in until we get this solved. And so they're waiting for the court case to be resolved before they swear them in, which pissed everybody else off, which then made the guy say, no, you have to do it. And then them say, no, you don't get to be here anymore, and kicked him out, which I just feel like we're moving closer and closer to how Britain does it. Or if we're just going to yell at each other and make asses of ourselves, and that's going to be what we call politics. But it'll be more honest than it has been, maybe, if we do. But that happened yesterday too. This also happened today. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with anything, but I just, again, when it's all happening at once, I want to look at as many of the ancillary things as I can to ask, well, what are they trying to direct our vision away from? Just we lost however many trillions the morning of 9/11. What else is going on that we're not looking at? So Dirty Martini is in the house, and it looks like Dirty Martini was there today. Dirty Martini, we should get your input on that. I would love to hear your experience. Yeah, Mahadharmapala points out these scumbag politicians talk about protecting the Constitution, and yet they voted for the Patriot Act, they voted for the NDAA, they voted for all kinds of shit. What is the one that's really fucked up with the president? I don't know if my boyfriend's in the house, he can tell us. I always forget the number letters combo that makes it Basically so that right now Trump could just be like, yeah, no, I'm president still and I'm going to be forever. Bye-bye. Like, there's a specific thing. All of it's unconstitutional. You're absolutely right. Yeah, this is a lot of delusion. Bob Ross is here. What's up? Rutherford Mapplethorpe is here. That is the most noble name. Yeah, the people on the right obsessed with commies. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, communism is a very real threat that a lot of people are actively trying to bring in to being in this nation. And we already have it, honestly, to a really pretty extensive degree. I mean, we're like basically democratic socialist light. So we're already on the road to it. And we know China, we know China's right up our asses and would love to take over. You could argue they're not super communist, but they think they are, and they definitely got there through communism. And then there's Russia. What's that guy, Yuri Bresmanov or whatever his name is, talking about, like, this is decades ago, and he was like, oh yeah, no, we already took over the U.S. You're already done. Like, it's over. And the person interviewing him was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, we already infiltrated all of your educational, hubs. And we're slowly instilling these ideals in your youth, and they're gonna take over eventually, and that's what we see. So it's kind of very interesting. But yeah, the false division is pointless. The red-blue division is pointless. Israel Adams says Congress's laptops were seized and are now evidence. Evidence for what? Yeah, Steve says, I'm surprised only one girl died. I was expecting hundreds. I honestly was with you. I was like, today could be really bloody. And I was like praying for all my friends who are there, hoping that they stay safe. I love Kat from Truth Stream. Is it Truth Stream or Truth Factory? Kat from Truth Factory had a poll today that was like, is going to jail for many years worth farting in Nancy Pelosi's chair? Because someone just said the picture of someone sitting in her chair is pretty funny. I'm sure she'll like burn it because she's such a trashy piece of shit. She'll be like, oh, the peasants touched it, as she's like fucking falling apart. Her lizard suit is starting to pop out of her human skin. The taking the building was scripted. Laptops were seized by NSA. Military tribunals are coming where the court system failed. Oh, maybe this is like the other angle. I like it. I hope so. That'd be rad. We'll cross our fingers. Steve said the best image was that of senators cowering and groveling on the floor. That should be the default stance of all politicians. Seriously, you're like, do you remember that you work for us and that your only job is to represent us? It's not to just do whatever the fuck you think should happen because you're so divorced from reality. Remember that? Remember? PDD 51, thank you. Thank you, boyfriend man. It was PDD 51 that is also unconstitutional and allows the president to have untold power. Will Tyndale's in the house. He says we have communism with the gold man hook nose on the top. Well said. See, this is why I question it, though. Vanguard of Truth said, I just read about the woman killed. She served 14 years protecting her country only to die by the same police she supports, standing up for her rights. I'm fucking done with the police. I think that's what they want us to feel. I'm not saying that. I've said it before. Have a whole episode called Don't Fuck the Police where I go into deep detail about it. But, I mean, there's shitty, fucked up police. I know I have friends who were raped by police as children because their mothers were addicted to heroin, and the police would let them off of their heroin charges if they were allowed to rape their children. So, like, there are fucked up police. Sorry, trigger warning. I get it. There's really, really a lot of darkness there. And there's also a lot of really good, bright goodness there, too. And there's a lot of people who go in truly wanting to do well. And it's just like any other industry. You have people who take advantage of it and are shitheads, and you have people who do it well and are aiming to keep it good. And so, you know, it really is not about police or not. It's about corruption or not. And it's about each individual being, having honor or not. But yeah, I mean, if she served for 14 years to protect her country, doesn't that just sort of add to the possibility that it's a really good false flag story? But just a question. It's possibly not. It's possibly very real. We have to ask questions. I really do hope that Pelosi and other Congress members are in custody and that they'll see military tribunals. That would make me so happy. The girl is 16 years old. So she can't be 16 and have served her country for 14 years. So I wonder what's actually going on. Is what Bonnie says. Well, we'll see. All right, so anyway, let's get to this. SolarWinds, a major incident. The U.S. Justice Department says emails accessed in SolarWinds hack insists no classified information was involved. Again, I'm pulling this up because this happened either today or yesterday, I want to say. Or was this old? Because I really was like, haven't we heard of this before? It'd be nice if they just gave me some facts. It was a major incident. Yeah, this was a while ago. Okay. When was it though? I was like, am I having deja vu or did this not happen today? They're just talking about it again today for some reason. No classified systems were impacted. Oh, it was on December 24th. It was a while ago. It was like 2 weeks ago. So they provide security and now, oh yeah, I think I even mentioned this on the show. Sorry, I do this a lot. But because this was one of the things that was indicating they were starting their cyber pandemic fucking bullshit, false flag shit. So this was part of that. So they're saying like, this is the tech company that provides supposed security and networking services to numerous government agencies, but it was hacked. But nothing was leaked. It's totally fine. And they're saying it was probably the Kremlin. We have no idea, but we're just going to blame Russia like we always do. And maybe it was that, but it's funny. Anyway, sorry to bring that up. I thought it happened today. All right, so they're reconvening in the Electoral College vote count at the U.S. Capitol. And now they're calling it a siege. The Senate reconvenes with heavily armed guards after the siege. So they're back. I don't know. Is this live?
Dishonor to the latest generation. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
I don't know when that was, but hey, there's Anomaly. But I wonder like how much, I don't know. I just find it very weird that you can like live through your workplace being stormed by angry people and having to go into lockdown and get evacuated and then write like a pretty speech to talk about it all like an hour later. Makes you kind of feel like things are scripted. But what we just listened to could have been earlier today. I don't know. It's unclear. So they had planned to object to the vote certification. Wait. It says, while a number of GOP lawmakers had planned to object to the vote certification alleging irregularities in the presidential race, asked about the matter before Congress regrouped, Republican Senator Rand Paul said he did not expect any objections the second time around. So this is what I'm saying. If that's true, if there's any truth to that, then that is exactly why they would have allowed people through a gate and allowed them into the building and allowed them to take over. Is so that they could do that. If there's any truth to any of it, you know, then that would be the reason. And more. I am sure there's more. There's always layers and layers of the shit they want to pull off and the, you know, little crises they'll use to do it. Ugh. A shameful assault was made on our democracy. Now, I don't know if that happened today or if it's just been happening for decades. Blah, blah, blah. Heavily armed guards. They were allowed back inside through underground tunnels. There's always the underground tunnels. I mean, it's smart for exactly these reasons, but it kind of sucks. I just think it's so weird that we don't know this woman's name yet. Well, it's not in any articles I've seen, at least. And if it really is Roberta Paulson, it was reported only on Twitter by unverified sources. Oh, there's states of emergency being declared. I thought we already had them declared. Can you declare multiple states of emergency at a time? We have one state of emergency for the cyber pandemic, one for the fake pandemic of COVID. I mean, I swear it's real. I know. I promise I know. And one for the, like, whatever protest this is, whatever we're going to call the protest. I'm sure, like they said above, they're going to call it a siege. Oh, they maintain that the race was plagued by extensive voter fraud and called on Republican lawmakers to challenge the Electoral College count. Pence, however, signaled on Wednesday that he would not challenge it, arguing that he lacked the authority to invalidate these votes. So we'll see. It seems like they're not going to do shit, and Joe Biden will be our president. And then this is actually one of the most interesting parts of the day for me. Why does it say January 7th? It's the 6th. I mean, I guess typo, but maybe it wasn't supposed to happen until tomorrow. I don't know. But Twitter jails Trump over go home message to protesters. I don't know if you guys watched that little message of his. I watched probably like 20 seconds of it. I don't have a lot of like patience for any politician or anything, but I just wanted to know what his mood and tone seemed like. It seemed pretty, you know, like any politician, like his acting face was on or whatever, but it seemed like he was saying that people should go home and not threaten, you know, he literally actually said, which I thought was very interesting, something like, we know our enemies will only use this against us. Go home. And I was like, I mean, honestly, out of all the things he's ever done or said, that was one that made me go like, maybe he really is an outsider. Because why would you say that? Because no one ever hints at the truth, which is that these things are used against us, you know, and that we should always question whether or not we should join actions like this, especially if there's any kind of violence that's going to be involved, because it will be used against us and whatever our movement is at that time. And that's what he was saying. That's what I heard for the 20 seconds I listened to. That's what he said. And I was like, wow, that was actually pretty interesting. Like, what could that mean? It could mean he's an even better actor than I thought at an even more subtle level. Or it could mean that he actually is an outsider and that he really does see that people actually care about this, but that it's not going to work out and that they need to go home before it's used to crack down even harder or pull off even more shenanigans. I don't know. I like that they just show him here on his phone. I mean, I guess it's about tweeting, so I guess you would, but it's just funny. So yeah, Twitter has locked him out. I believe that that's absolutely illegal. I thought that, in fact, you had to allow politicians to have their platform and you could not bar them. I could be wrong because I'm not a lawyer and I don't know, but I was pretty sure that was highly illegal nationwide. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But it's interesting that they chose to do it because he's done a lot worse than tell protesters to go home. You know what I mean? As far as like the things they have to pretend happened, he's done a lot worse than that. And so they deleted 3 of his tweets, I should say, and then they locked him out of his account for, I think, 12 hours. So, which all that made me think is what's going to happen over the next 12 hours, right? Again, if there's any truth to the fact that he could be an outsider, are they actually trying to shut him down for the next 12 hours specifically because the next 12 hours is crucial? I don't know. It's pretty weird. I never saw this coming. I did not think that would happen. Twitter cited unprecedented and ongoing violent situations in Washington, D.C., which I don't know what that has to do with Trump's tweets, but apparently that means you get to delete Trump's tweets. That video I was just telling you about where he says, you know, you should go home because our enemies will use this against us, that was actually blocked for a while and you couldn't watch it or even like heart react it or retweet it or anything. But I did somehow, I don't know. So that happened. Oh, this is even worse. I didn't know they did this. They'll lock it for 12 hours. And after he deletes his own 3 offensive tweets, then he can come back on. Or he'll stay locked forever if he chooses not to. So they're like, you do it. You censor yourself. Wow, those fucking sick fucks. That's psychologically fucked up. Like, just fucking delete it, you fucking tyrants. That's what you do all the time. You're pieces of shit. I hate Twitter. Facebook and YouTube have also deleted the video message. I mean, again, like, I can't imagine why you would delete it unless you want to be able to, without any evidence seeming to contradict it, say that he was absolutely promoting violence and rage and like taking over the Capitol, which I don't think there's any evidence for. And then this message was specifically the opposite of that. And they were probably like, fuck, we got to get rid of that. We didn't fucking want it to look like that. Or that's all part of the stagecraft too. You know what I mean? And that's just what we're meant to see it as. Either way, it's very interesting, and I think unprecedented as far as a political office holder goes on social media. So, yeah. Trump's last tweet, which was first labeled as a risk of violence and then deleted by the platform, urged his supporters to go home with love and in peace and to remember this day forever. How is that a risk of violence? They're so blatantly tyrannical. Oh, it also said, these are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. That's not violent. It's just like, if you encourage the storyline at all of that sort of side of things, then you are oppressed or silenced. You're censored. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Yeah, that's true. He can't be an outsider. Not only, Will Tundell is pointing out that not only is his entire family part of a certain type of mafia, but also I remember that he is also related to Vlad the Impaler, just like every other president happens to be. Just so happens to be. It's just a chance occurrence. Shift Happens is here as well. What's up, Shift Happens? Yeah, it's a good point. Shift Happens says, I can't stand how many times I hear and see being called a democracy. We're not a democracy. It's one of the biggest PsyOps over the past few years. It's true. It's actually been a while, right? That we're like, we're going to bring democracy to like these other countries. And it's like, but we don't have any here. We're a constitutional republic, right? Which is very different. Yeah, our country's definitely, what's it called? Oligocracy? No, it's something like oligarchy. Oligarchy is good. It's an oligarchy. Yeah, I don't know his exact language, but he said something like, they'll only use this against us, or our enemies will use it against us, or something like that. I'd have to go back and watch it again. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, they shut him down for 12 hours for a reason. It was either because he actually is a threat to whatever they're trying to pull off, or because he's meant to be seen as such. We always, always, always should keep that perspective in mind. Like, here's how it looks, or is that how they want me to see it? And not to the point where you go insane. And this is why you just sort of like, I'm at least like, I don't know, that's all happening. It's not really a part of anything that I'm doing. I got eggs for my chicken and put some fucking salve on her doodle, and that was my day. That was my whole day. And hanging out with you guys. Yeah. I love it. My mouth shall speak the truth says the only violence was the police shooting a woman and then the people snapped and broke windows. Oh, it's just true. It's like, so the police killed someone. That's not the mob being violent. And then I guess they broke a couple windows. That's not that bad. They were in there in the actual building, and not, it seems like they set off a fire suppressant and that's it. So that's not very violent. And then, as My Mouth Shall Speak the Truth points out, they act like they didn't just let 34 cities burn on and off for months. It's like the same people. Lindsay Smith is here. What's up? Lindsay Smith, nice to see you. Yeah. Bonnie says she met a man across from the Masonic Temple in Alexandria, and he said that Trump was scheduled to be in office, and it's all a show. I'm way more likely to believe that than anything else. I just like to entertain all possibilities, honestly. Oh, and on a side note, Bonnie is getting word about an economic crash in the real estate world. Heads up, everyone. And I bet this time it's going to be a lot worse than 2008. You can imagine if no one's allowed to work and all of our businesses are shutting down, no one's going to be able to keep their houses, which doesn't make sense to me, because if you just let them keep it, it's actually a lot more economically sound for anybody who is owning that property than anything else. There's no one else who's going to be able to afford to fucking take it. Like, no one has money. No one has money. Anyway, the economy, according to me, would be very different. Way less violent than the BLM riots, right? That's what I was saying. Like, those are so much more scripted and so much more violent. I mean, way more people were murdered. Dogs were ripped apart in the street. Like, buildings were burned down. It went on for months. There was all kinds of chaos. Small businesses left and right were just like destroyed for no reason at all. It was horrible and nobody cared. Those were mostly peaceful, right? And now this, like, very little actually happens and they're like, this crazy, insane Nazi mob is taking over the world. And you're like, Jesus, like, calm down. You seem a bit off the fucking charts. Like, oh no. Jeremy Harvin said he thinks she was shot blindly, the girl who died. So if she's real and it wasn't false, whatever, it was in no way intentional. So if that's true, that's a really good thing to keep in mind too. That it isn't just like wanton violence. It's like shit happens sometimes. Democracy that we don't have must be respected. This is, again, the second thing that is the most concerning to me. So the first is the power that Twitter has. I'm literally serious. Out of all the things we just talked about, that Twitter having this much power is more concerning to me than any of it. And this is also more concerning to me than any of it. And so France, the UK, and NATO condemn chaos in Washington, calling for a peaceful transfer of power. I don't know why they get a say. I just fuck you and fuck off. Like, this is not your country, so you can fucking eat it. Like, who asked you? And go the fuck home. I'm like, I really don't understand. It's none of your fucking business. But the other reason why it makes me very concerned is because we know, like we said earlier, that one of the goals of Agenda 21 and all their other bullshit is to get the international community stationed here or taking over here in the United States. And you can't do that unless they have a good reason. And so this crisis would not go to waste if they could get, NATO, the UN, or whoever, like, in here, get us some blue helmets, right? They're blue helmets, right? Get these blue helmets up in here. And so that's always been one of the concerns. And so the fact that the major media like RT, who I just like more than most mainstream media as far as the bullshit goes, they're a good view of the bullshit. But they, them and other mainstream media are starting to already signal this, that the international community has whatever stakes, things to say, and that trend is worrisome, and I'm sure we'll see more of it, unfortunately, because I do think that that's one of the goals. So again, who cares? I don't know why it's news. We shouldn't even be looking at it, but I want us to know what they have in plan, and so I look, and it's just like, fuck you, Boris Johnson. Who fucking asked you? Who the fuck? It's none of your fucking business. Jens Stoltenberg, shove it up your ass. I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know why we would care what they thought. Do you live here? No? Then go away. It's none of your business. I don't think we have any business in other people's countries, and I don't think they should have any business in ours unless they're traveling and visiting and enjoying it, or like, going through the process to move here. And then I care what you have to say. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. Statement from the OAS. What are they? Who cares? What is it even? What's the OAS? The Office of Anal Sphincters says, the OAS General Secretariat condemns and repudiates the attack against institutions being carried out today in the United States. Like, you have no... So we're just supposed to, like, if votes ever counted, it was very obvious this time that there was a whole heap of bullshit. I think it's every time, but this time it was made very obvious, which I've said the whole time. Why are they making it so obvious? Why do they want us to notice so much? And this is likely why. But we're just supposed to let that all go? I mean, again, like, what are we supposed to do? And this motherfucker gets to tell us? Who the fuck are you? Fuck off. So dumb. So yeah, that's concerning that the international community has any fucking say, or that we care, or that it's being published. But that's happening. And this is totally random. This is outside of anything happening in DC. Again, I like to look at the things happening around the fringes because I want to know what they might be trying to distract from. And Syria and Israel are having some issues. Supposedly Israel has done some shit, and Syrian air defense had to respond. They had to repel an Israeli rocket attack near Damascus. I was really sad because I was in eastern Turkey for a while, and I didn't ever get to go into Syria, which is horrible because they were, you know, there was war. This was in like 2011 or something. So it seems to never end there. And Damascus is one of like the oldest cities in the world. But anyway, those are stories for another day. The strikes came early on Thursday morning, and that's this morning. I think they're ahead of us, right? The Syrian capital, according to the Syrian Arab News Agency, reportedly targeting military sites near the town of Al-Kisweh, located some 18 miles south of Damascus. Videos of the attack. Here's a video. It's very... It's not like the movies. It's like, here's a glowing ball that flies through the air and doesn't do anything. Like, okay. But I mean, it is serious if there's people throwing rockets at each other. Anyway, so Israel and Syria are heating up, I guess. So that's just something to be aware of that's happening on the outskirts of all of the chaos that is being fomented and very intentional here. But I did like, here's one happy thing we can think about. I did like that Peru is supposedly not allowing the vaccines into their country because they will not agree to legal immunity for the COVID-19 vaccine. And so the vaccine makers won't give them any vaccines without that agreement. So it's kind of rad because, I mean, I'm glad. Like, that you should either make a vaccine that you know for sure is safe and be willing to back it up by allowing people to sue you when you kill them, or you shouldn't make vaccines. And so Peru, who knew? Peru was going to, you know, step up this fight and be like, yeah, no, if you want to not have legal immunity, we'll take the vaccine. And if you want legal immunity, we won't. So I'm pretty proud of Peru. I kind of want to move there now. My friend's actually down there. I can ask her what she thinks of it. Of course, I think she desperately wants the vaccine and is probably angry about it. So maybe I don't want to ask. They've been in constant contact with Pfizer, but no budging. I love this. So what a balanced, thoughtful response. It's true that one needs a vaccine, but it is also true that there are aspects related to aspects of our sovereignty that the country has to protect, and it has to do with risk for future generations. And that also makes me nervous, because are they like, hey, if you like fuck up people's DNA with your mRNA and you like, or you like sterilize people or whatever, like, what are you going to do for the next however many generations of our people? That's pretty cool. So anyway, this was a bright, shining star in all of the things that have happened today, or been reported on today at least. And so I wanted to share that success that hopefully remains a success. Hopefully Peru sticks to their guns and really does not take this vaccine. That'd be rad. Wait, what? Audra Christine asked her friend if anything new about this because it happened while she was at work, and she said there's nothing that popped up. I wonder if you're talking about Syria? Oh, the Trump being censored? I don't know. Sorry. Can't keep up. Oh, yeah, it's true. That guy with the, let's find him. What should we call him? Horn man, Viking man at protests. No. Oh, man. We need to go to Twitter then. Twitter knows everything. We'll find it really quick, right? This guy. Oh, wow. That's a really good comparison. So this guy's at this protest. Obviously, he stands out because he's got this fucking badass hat on. But he was also seen at other protests, BLM protests, actually, this summer. And so people have been circulating pictures of him at multiple protests wearing this. He's always wearing this outfit and always has face paint. And I don't know why we care if he's at multiple protests. He might just be a very active patriot. He doesn't seem to do anything false flaggy. So, I mean, I think he's just a dude, like, being fucking amazing. But, but this is weird. He does kind of look like that guy from that tunnel opening ceremony in fucking Belgium or wherever that was, however many years ago that was super creepy and just fucked up. So that's weird. I wonder if they are using him as like a magical, like, lightning rod, you know, to like hold some of this energy they created at this ceremony and like bring it into that event. Like that, I could totally see them doing that weird ass shit. So that's very interesting. So that guy you're talking about, and you said she had to get away from him because people, and then you just cut off. Oh, kept taking his picture and she didn't want to be published next to him. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I don't know how he would be a crisis actor, like I said, because nothing happened with him specifically. I think, because I've had people in, again, I did protests a lot of organizing and being around that scene for many years, and there's definitely people who just like travel the country going to protests. They're funded by organizations that have specific interests. I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about, like, you know, the Revolutionary Communist Party, for example, will fund certain people to travel around and go to different protests. So he very much could be someone like that who is funded by whatever organization he might be associated with. And he just wears this because it's like amazing and gets attention, and, you know, that there's nothing inherently wrong with that. So I don't know. I don't see any problem with it, except this is very interesting to me that he just so happens to look similar to this dancing goat man from that tunnel opening ceremony, which was hella creepy. Yeah, it does also seem like Jenny B is pointing out that the goal is to demote the US dollar because they want a digital currency in the Great Reset. So that's coming. So yeah, the crash, we're going to lose the real estate market, and then it's going to just ripple through, and then everything's going to be so fucked, and they're going to be like, look, we have this glorious savior of the digital currency for you, but sorry, you're going to have to, like, put it in your brainstem or whatever. Yay, Peru. Yay, Peru. My doctor said that they cannot make anyone take the vaccine. I mean, they can't make anyone take it, kind of, but at the same time, like, if they want to go full scale, just dark, like, end of the world shit, then they might try. I don't know, but I know they can't actually. I mean, there's people, all you have to do, I mean, literally, there's actually articles about this, and I can share them with you if you need, but all you have to really do is show that you've ever had any allergy to anything, and you are outside, you are exempt from being forced to take the vaccine. If you've had any allergy to anything, you have allergies, and having an allergic reaction to a vaccine could kill you. So you don't have to take them. That's true. Whether or not your doctor understands it or not, you might want to get a different doctor. I don't know. But that's true. The other thing is, if you have any sort of autoimmune issues, like I do, and many people do actually, if you have even like the hints of autoimmune that they haven't specifically diagnosed you, then you also can say, well, I have autoimmune related stuff or an autoimmune disease, and so you don't have to take it, because if you have autoimmune, you also can react very badly to vaccines. So use that to your advantage. Find your allergy, tell your doctor about it, and be like, I don't know, I'm pretty nervous, got this allergy, got this autoimmune thing, can't take a vaccine. Your doctor, if they're good, should acknowledge that that's absolutely true, that it's too dangerous for you. Bright winter, bright winter. I think it is a bright winter when we can stand up for ourselves and not take vaccines that we don't want to take, and, you know, look rationally at things happening that otherwise are just like grabbing everyone's emotions and attentions and getting like really riled up. Because, you know, when they have that much energy, they can try to funnel it into their creepy shit. Oh. Brother Michael says, why is that weird ass shit and tarot is not? Well, I think it's weird ass shit for thousands of years to be focused using blood magic on controlling the world. And I don't think tarot is anywhere near that nefarious. So, sorry to be confusing. Rock Johnson says, I got cancer from a vaccine. I'm certain of it. No one can convince me otherwise, and because of this, I question their meds. Rock Johnson, I also got cancer from a vaccine, and I'm also certain of it. And that's why I will never take a vaccine again. One of many reasons why. Well, that's nice. Regan says that Alberta has pledged not to enforce any mandatory vaccines. But see, it's like people pointed out, the state, the government, they might not, but the businesses, and especially if they've gotten rid of all small businesses and we can't really use anything but their businesses, these major corporations, they've all sort of seemed to band together and like, you have to get it to work here and you have to get it to, like, wear a mask to shop here. And so the vaccine might be forced on us by those methods instead of the government. Vanguard of Truth said, I was thinking about, there were two pillars between de Blasio and his wife on New Year's. Oh, when they were dancing like fucking assholes. What pieces of shit. Like, how fucked up do you have to be like, the whole fucking world's on lockdown, especially this city, by my order, but me and my wife are gonna go dance in Times Square. Like, you really need to die. Anyway, symbolizing a gathering into the unknown, and then this guy pops up. Oh, a gateway into the unknown. Or like the two towers of masonry. And then this guy pops up? Like, literally that guy? Is that what you're saying? The horned patriot man? I will look for your answer in the chat, Vanguard of Truth. Was she wearing a pedo mask while they danced? What the fuck? Here, I need to find this now. Hold on. De Blasio and wife dance in Times Square. Is that his wife? Oh my god, she is wearing a pedo mask. Wow. I thought that was a child at first. I thought that's what you were saying, but dude, his mask is so like tiny and effeminate. It looks like women's underwear, and then hers is like thick and masculine and pedophile-y. It's like, maybe she's his handler. Yeah, they are between the pillars. And there's like angels and shit. Like, what a fucking shitbag. Like, how do you not feel like a total shitbag when you act like that? I do not understand how you fucking live. I thought maybe something important was happening in that circle, but it doesn't seem like it. Anyway. Back to the horned man. Some on the left are comparing the protests today to Pearl Harbor and 9/11. Like, what? How fucked up do you have to be? I don't understand what's happened to everybody's mind. Oh yeah, it's the coronavirus. The crown virus. Their minds are under control. I do too, Matt Feinberg says, I see an algorithmically controlled cryptocurrency controlling people's lives like the dollar, but even more insidious. Absolutely. There's only one reason why the powers that be want a great reset to lead us into the grand digital currency age, and it's because they know how much better they can control that. They don't know how many dollars I have stuffed under my mattress. You know, they don't know what I'm going to do with it. They don't know who I exchange it with without being taxed. They will absolutely know that when we're all digital. This is why I've never bought any crypto. I just don't want to be a part of it. I understand that it's a very good investment. A very small amount of people got the vax at Bonnie's husband's fire department, 20 people. And out of those 20 people, 3 people had reactions and 1 had a severe reaction, fever and hospitalization. That's a lot of reactions out of a very small population. I'm definitely not going to get it. Serena Del Mar, I am glad you have cats. Goodness. You don't have to witness this mess. Just, you know, do other things. For example, I like to quilt and make jewelry. And play with my chickens. And I don't really have to pay attention. Brother Michael says they are both forms of divination then. One is less evil. I don't think they're using divination when they like slaughter babies and get massive amounts of people to put a bunch of energy into one symbol so that they can then direct it into creating the reality that they want. I don't think that's divination at all. I think that that is the creation of very specific realities. And the control of people's minds, especially through torture and blood magic. Again, I don't see how they're similar at all. For me, they're quite different. It is definitely all a stage. It's all a stage. It's all a stage. The glass globe in the middle. I guess I lost that. I don't know about the glass globe we're talking about here. Oh, here. Oh, interesting. I don't know. I think it's their world. That my intuition is just that it's their world, one world sort of energy. Like, I don't want to have to point out the race of these 2 individuals, but I'm sure that there's a lot of people who planned this to be that way so that it could be like indicative of, you know, what we're meant to believe is this huge division, when in reality, if you have any black friends, or if you're black and you have any white friends, you know, there's not really a division. There's racism that exists, and it's not nearly at the level that people have been fucking freaking out about for years, because they've been told to freak out about it and because the media has focused on it so much. But I think they're meant to represent that, like, coming together, perhaps at least. And then this globe might represent a similar sort of global, like, let's all come together despite our divisions and differences. And the light comes out of it, and the light will take over the world, because they're very likely Luciferians and they love their light symbolism. So maybe that's part of it. It reminds me, of course, of the, you know, Trump and whoever, like, media or oil titans over in the Middle East or whatever they were doing, where Trump and him have their, like, hands on the glowing ball, and, like, Simpsons, like, made fun of it, like, a day later, and people were like, the Simpsons predicted it. And they're like, no, they made the cartoon afterwards. But that glowing ball reminds me of this glowing ball. They're both on these weird pedestals. They're at the same height. This one seems to have a lot of sacred geometry on it, including, the Star of David right in the center there. So there's a lot there. I don't know. I never noticed it. Thanks for pointing it out. Someone said, Mars entered Taurus today, Jenny B is saying. I also heard that something like 4 other planets are in retrograde or something, and I don't know. I didn't look into it yet. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you guys. I failed you. Yeah, I tend to agree with Jeremy that they're going to use today's protest for an agenda for more security, less privacy, take away more free speech even, take away even more of our freedoms. Oh, we haven't got there yet. It was the next one. Wait, what? I lost it. I had it pulled up and it is not here, and I don't know if I skipped it or not, but we'll find it, because there's a very important point to this I want to make. I guess I'll go back to Twitter. Steve actually made this, so let's find Steve's point. Oh, look, he's right there. Steve made a very good point for this woman who brought up this very interesting legislation today that is another, solution that is a response to the problem that they created. Here we go. So he says, why is this dated January 5th? Good question, Steve. Because Congressman Cory Bush said, I believe the Republican members of Congress who have incited this domestic terror attack through their attempts to overturn the election must face consequences. They have broken their sacred oath of office. I will be introducing a resolution calling for their expulsion. This was meant to be the thing that I was the most concerned about, because this is actually like a huge escalation towards, what do you think would happen if the Democrats expelled some Republican lawmakers and senators because of how they felt they acted like in regards to this election? That would definitely push us a lot closer to a civil war. It is interesting. I hate even saying that because I think that's what they want us to all be thinking and moving towards, again, because it would allow the United Nations or NATO or whoever the fuck to come in here and take over. But it's like, Johnny has pointed out, it's not like there's very many people who would actually take part in this. So what? It's going to be like, 3% of the people fighting another 3% of the people and everyone else just watching on the TV. But I'm like, honestly, that could happen but check it out. It is literally dated January 5th. So she was already planning this. I don't know. I just think it's fucking crazy. And then I'm like, do Democrats, do people who identify as Democrats support that? I don't know. This is what strong progressive leadership looks like, some Cenk Uygur says. Oh, that guy? God, he's the worst. Sedition, a serious felony punishable by fines and up to 20 years in prison, and it refers to the act of inciting revolt or violence against a lawful authority with the goal of destroying or overthrowing it. But then someone points out, by this logic, we should also punish the lawmakers who supported BLM. Do you know any? It's a really good point. And that's what I was saying too. They're totally fine with violence if it supports them, but they're gonna come down hard on it if it's against them. It's very interesting. It's very horrifying to think that this is an actual congresswoman who actually drafted this and is actually introducing it. I don't think it'll pass. I hope it won't. It's ridiculous. But anyway, thank you for reminding me it was supposed to be up here and it wasn't. So yeah. So, yeah. Checking one more time with the chat. Bob Ross teaches horticulture on Instagram, specializes in houseplants, and if anyone is interested or has houseplants, you can go to @that_1_plant_guy. And yeah, that's a great point about what to do during your spare time. Plus, plants are really good friends. I don't know. I've always got my, whatever these are called, poinsettia here next to me ever since I got him this winter. Happy little guy. All my other plants are elsewhere around the house. Would I define divination from my glossary? I don't have a glossary, but divination is divining the truth or divining information you didn't already have from something like an oracle, or other means. So that's why I was saying it's very different than intentionally using force and will and blood magic in order to create a certain outcome. It's very different for them from divining literally means to like get the truth out, get the information out from something. Rock Johnson says that Catherine Austin Fitz, who I would love to have on the show and have invited before, and maybe anyone out there has connections to her and wants to get her on, she says that the assets were looted from the U.S. around 95. Obviously, a lot were looted around, September 11th, 2001 or so. And since then, they've been creating a financial non-reality. Now they have to go crypto to make up for the looting. Dude, I've been saying since I was literally a tiny teenager, like 13 years old, I was like, okay, wait. So like there's something called credit. And so really we're all just running around pretending that money exists that doesn't exist, and there's actually nothing. There's no food or like water or trees or like even gold or like anything. There's nothing backing any of it. Like, okay, well, that's all gonna fall apart. I mean, like, it's pretty simple. Reality is not actually that hard. But I like it. Kind Davies, welcome to the chat. Kind Davies says the ball on New Year's Eve was about everyone dropping the ball and them symbolizing that they have the ball. I like that interpretation. Twisted Sage is in the house. Mercury hits Aquarius this Friday, Twisted Sage said. Ooh, that's going to be very slippery. Vanguard of Truth says, screw the internet. I wish we were all in a circle right now. That'd be rad. That'd be fun. We're going to do some meetups this year, I swear. And Baal is Baal, which is their god. Good point. Baalam. Serena, I know none of us really do feel that way in this community, but we all are here, and I think for a good reason, so I'm glad you're sticking around. I love all the love in the chat. What? DLive has done something bad to my channel because I'm talking about politics. I just got notified. I don't understand it. I don't really care, and DLive can suck my dick. Oh. I'm just reading about some astrology in the chat here. Yeah, and so remember, Shift Happens is pointing out, and we've said many times on the show and in this episode, and we should always reiterate every chance we get, that they only want things to get worse and more intense between we, the people. They really would love to see us divided. That's why they fomented the race division again, and we fell for it again. That's why they're always fomenting the sex division or the sexuality division or the religion or spirituality division. Like anything that we can start to define ourselves by, they're going to use as a dividing factor for us until we stop falling for it and say like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I don't care who you fuck or what color your skin is, what color your hair is, or what you do during your free time. As long as you're not hurting people and using force, then I'm cool with you. And until we are there, they're going to keep fomenting this. But I think it's beyond that too, because it's not just that we have to, in ourselves, recognize that we don't care about differences at all, but also that we have to not take the bait of becoming the victim, because that is what draws so many people into that paradigm, is feeling like it's so fucking easy to be a victim because everyone then gives you attention and everyone feels for you and everyone's like piling on, like really rooting for you. You don't get that the rest of the time. People who aren't playing the victim don't get that. So it feels really nice, you know, it's really nice. And then you have all these excuses that everyone lets you use for why you can't do the things that you're supposed to do, you know, as a responsible adult in the world. So it's way easier. It's way easier. And so we also have to stop falling for that. And that's all of us. We have to all find the ways we've made ourselves the victim and let it go. Why, thank you, Kind Davies. You really are kind. Kind Davies says to keep up the good work, rogue peeps. We're amazing. All right, I gotta go too. Good night. Good night. Good night. I just want to remind you guys to keep calm because your happiness is inside of you, as you know. And if your happiness truly is inside of you, then no one can take it away from you. And that is the truth. And so, you know, you have moments where you falter. We all do. We have moments where we're afraid, even though we know there's nothing to fear. We have moments where we feel sad, even though we know that it's going to be okay in the end because we are our soul and our soul has been whole from the beginning. And all of those things, but we all have those little falters, and we all feel like we talked about in the chat today, where we don't feel like we're really even from here, or definitely don't feel like we belong here, and definitely don't want to watch the world rip itself apart, seemingly. We definitely don't want to watch it happen at the hands of who we've already unmasked as the nefarious elite, you know, and, you know, for people to fall into all these traps that we see is very sad. So pat yourself on the back for making it this far. It is definitely hard to look at the reality and come away in any sort of semblance of, you know, wholeness, but you can do it. And you can do it by remembering that it is really true that your happiness and your wellness and your peace and all of these things really do come from inside of you. And if you put too much focus in all of this shit that they're having happen in the world, then it can definitely rip that apart, because you're giving them that power. You're putting your focus there and you're saying, like, my peace is over here with you and you're falling apart. So like, oh shit, I'm falling apart too. And that's on all sides of this, you know, whether you're like a Republican patriot fighting for freedom and the election integrity, or you're a Democrat who just like really wants people to be taken care of and be well and like have a chance in life and whatever it is you think, like all of us are having that same experience. So yeah, it's also important to remember that a lot of people are falling into all kinds of these traps. And so we ourselves, of course, are going to have fallen into at least little minor aspects of them. And we want to always be open to finding those and healing them and bringing ourselves up out of that back into reality. And it's nice that we're all here together in that, right? That's why it's nice that we have this community, especially at rogue.locals.com. If you want to check it out and have an even, you know, outside of live streams, we can still have community, which is nice. So to go check that out, but just to even be here together is nice. So that's why I wanted to stop in tonight and do a little update and remind us that we don't have anything to fear, right? Our soul is eternal. Nobody can take that from us. This life is fleeting. We want to take what we can from it while we're here. You know, we want to hug our poinsettias close and hug our chickens close, hug our cats close, hug our fellow people close and all of our loved ones close, and just take these moments that we have and remember that we're still here and we're still alive and there's still goodness to be had and to be found. And so we just need to take our attention back and take our emotion back from that giant play that is happening and playing out right now, and just be good within ourselves. So if you need me, I'm here. Reach out, rogueways.org. And until we can all keep ourselves always free from their machinations and always just see the play and never get involved in it, and maybe even remind some other people that those are just shadows on the cave wall and that there's like a whole world out there. And until we can do that with great integrity and consistency, remember to travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
It's a one-on-one lesson. Homework, make your dome hurt. While up on earth, my bones are blessed from holy dirt. Vibes manifested to words that told me search for verbs and adjectives to describe birth. Worth more than one can speak. While the tongue feeds a weak, a sour taste in your mouth, bittersweet. Words can also kill you when you sleep. Mind condition, low frequencies while the subconscious mind listens. I can tell a vision filled with lies, disguised as truth, and spread it like the word to the youth. Watch the tube. A place where the God gets booed is sorcery. To recreate the God forgery does more than meet that meets the eye. Not too many know. Just hear me flow like the eye of Horus Pinio. Yeah, not ready to leave until we believe we're free to go. You hear me? Run.
Sculpted from the ether, the material will eat ya. Stuck on this plane, lanes use jet fuel to greet ya. The dimensional three ain't meeting me on top of the fourth. Didn't climb Jacob's ladder to squab with a sword. Forged with ink drizzle, branch down. Try quiet your lamps now. Ascension past the matter, let they slam out they damn mouths. We ain't on land now, but they over understand. Sacrificing wisdom, hoarding dumber, kosher, wicked hands. Putting faith in worthless worship of the mortals. Artificial portals, mass ingestion of the black goo. Bioengineered morsels, conversing with machine elves. Bypassing maggots, they stuck on Android screens now. I'm scrolling emerald tablets. Moloch living lavish, off the backs of the savage. Them clasped hands at the Sabbath. Smack of energy damage, they done twisted the tongues. With nanotech in the lungs, the awakening's begun. All they really can do is fucking run.